Good morning. We are now into our Beyond the Headlines segment where we provide review and analysis of the big stories. Today our special episode, I'm focusing on the St. Jude's fire. Did you know 13 years ago on this very date, the 9th of September, the St. Jude Hospital was gutted in fire. Three St. Lucian nationals, 3 individuals lost their lives as a result. We are reviewing on this occasion today the history and legacy of the St. Jude Hospital. No focus really on the field project. That is for another show. But today, Friday, the 13th anniversary, we focus on the history and the legacy of the St. Jude Hospital. St. Jude is a statutory body of the Government of Saint Lucia and is governed by a board of directors appointed by the Minister of Health. Located on the southern tip of the island in Augier, Vieux-Fort, the hospital was formally opened, did you know, as a charity hospital on the 5th of September 1966 by Mother Irma and the Sisters of Sorrowful Mother. Did you know the Franciscan religious order based in the United States? This was done on behalf of the Catholic Church. Patient care was given at no charge. The hospital was staffed primarily by volunteer doctors at that time, technicians and others from the United States and other countries. It became a model of excellent health care. This tradition of volunteerism has continued over the years. The sisters managed the St. Jude Hospital until 1992. Some history here, at which time the St. Lucian government awarded a management contract to Mercy Medical Center, a center from Iowa. In 2003, the St. Jude Hospital Act number 7 was passed, providing for an independent board of directors to manage the hospital. The Ministry of Finance partially subsidizes the hospital with an annual grant which is used to pay for salaries of hospital employees. The Act gives the hospital the right to charge and obtain patient revenue in order to meet operating costs not covered by the state. On the 9th of September 2009, the St. Jude Hospital was devastated by a fire. The fire destroyed the surgical and pediatric wards of the operating theaters of the hospital, a seriously aging facility at that time. The hospital was evacuated to the George Odlum Stadium, which is where it is still currently located. Unfortunately, this critical institution, which provides health care to the southern half of the island that serves a population of approximately 66,000 St. Lucians, has been marred in an unfortunate political tug of war and indecisiveness, during which time tens of millions of dollars have been squandered, and the reputation of this once impeccable health institution has been sullied. The South and St. Lucia by extension is crying out for the restoration and pride and integrity of the St. Jude Hospital. So on this day, the 9th day of September 2022, this 13 years after 999, St. Jude is still languishing naked and bruised in shame. The call from many St. Lucians is for an establishment of a permanent home for St. Jude. St. Lucians look forward to St. Jude, the St. Jude that we used to know, an institution which was immersed in the culture and traditions of the people of the South, when healthcare service was paid with the agricultural produce. Did you know a sack of dasheen, yam or cabbage, passion fruit, when people left cash trees to seek quality healthcare at St. Jude Hospital? We are calling all saints this morning. We have a mission to fulfill. Joining me now live on the broadcast, Mr. CuffyJames. He was a maintenance personnel and a guru responsible for fixing all the problems, electrical, plumbing, mechanical at St. Jude. He started off as a maintenance officer and advanced to a supervisor. He was responsible for saving the lives of many on the night of the fire. I've been serving some 29 years at the St. Jude's Hospital. Good morning, Mr. Cuffy. Thanks for waking up early and thanks for agreeing to join me.
Yes. Good morning.
Nice morning. Tell us firstly your experience working at St. Jude's, the passion of the staff and the commitment. Share with us your experience working there.
Oh, I had a lot of experience. We worked really hard at the place, especially there are some special people, nurses and my staffs, and these guys, they worked really hard to help the situation. We had to do a lot to maintain the place. We had to even organize a bazaar to raise funds to get medication for the patients because we wasn't getting enough monies to cover up everything from the government. And during the fire, I experienced a lot. I almost died that day myself in trying to save a lady. She was so heavy. Everybody was trying to get people out through the windows. There were a lady working in CSR, Mrs. Bryan, and her children. You could see them hoisting patient on a ladder. But this lady was too big and nobody, they thought, well, they couldn't do anything.
That's the lady who was 300 pounds? 300 pounds?
Yes.
That patient.
Yes.
I want us to talk about the fire, the night of the fire in detail in just a bit, but let's focus on the good old days of St. Jude for now. What was it like working alongside Mother Irma and the team from the Sisters of the Sorrowful Mother, the culture of work at that time? What was it like?
It was great. It was great. The sisters were all for the patients, also for the staff. Mother Irma was one wonderful woman. We had a few sisters with them, and all of them were treating us pretty nice and pretty good. And we all worked together with them. They taught us to do a lot of things. That's where I learned to do a lot of maintenance, repairs, and I think this is one of the reasons why after 7 years I was there, I became supervisor, because I really wanted to do a lot for the patients, and the patients were the heart of us. Everything was the patient. We had and the sisters, they make sure that we do everything to make the patients feel at home. And this is one of the things, the experience I gained, and that put a love into my heart. And right now I feel so bad every year that this time comes up, I feel so bad, like I'm seeing the fire. We'll talk about
that experience on the night. So much happened. You were right in there helping to save many patients. But go back with me many years ago. Describe your role for our viewers, your role as a maintenance officer on a typical day at St. Jude Hospital.
The roles, you mean like how I get to be in there? Well, the maintenance side of it, I guess the reason why the Sherry at the time was there, she got confidence in me, is because of our generators, because we were running our own electricity. And the generators all went down because of the supervisor that was there before. And they didn't take care of everything. And I did a marvelous job with an American guy, which we thought, well, that wouldn't happen when we overhauled the engine, the governor was bad. We didn't realize that, so the generator will not start. We opened the governor and the shaft was broken. But I was able to get another piece from another generator, governor, to put together. I brought it to the brewery. They did some marvelous work on there for me, weld it and put it back on there. And I told him, let's try it again. Then we tried again. It didn't start the first time, but he used a technique which I didn't know. I learned that technique. He used fuel, gas, to put around the air cleaner. And when we swung that generator, this generator started, and the man ran away because this generator starts so solid. And then we got it going after the priest was out for a day and a half power. And he didn't want to do that. He told me it would not work. But we couldn't get a new governor back to St. Lucia. It would have taken 2 weeks to do that. So we were able to get that going, and from that day, he felt so bad. He asked why they took him to St. Lucia. he was not supposed to be here. The guys here can do the work. I said, well, the sister told him, well, we had you, the janitor came from your factory, so we wanted you to be there. Anyway, there he recommended to take an ICS course for us, all the staff, which they did afterwards. But from that day, they handed keys to my hand, and I didn't like that in one way, because I didn't want that kind of responsibility on my account, because I knew it was tough working with the staff, but I accept it. You told me in 3 weeks' time they'll get somebody else, and they never get somebody else after 28 years. You know, that was my greatest experience in there, and I did a lot of work. I did a miracle work to save a patient to fly to the US by fixing a pacemaker, which was not, because an old one, the battery wasn't good. I built a battery pack and put in there, and he flew to Martinique. When he got to Martinique, he went to La Mena, they put another one. They came out, when they get back to the airport, it failed. They took the patient back and put the same one I fixed for him. And when he got to the States, he called me and he told me, Cuffy, from now on, I'll call you Miracle. Because that piece of equipment you fixed for me, that's what took the patient to the US. I felt good, and this gave me more strength that I could work and help the patients, and my staff did support me a lot. My staff was with me.
Stories worth telling, no doubt. If you're just joining us, today is the 13th anniversary since the devastating St. Jude fire, and we are focusing in the main on the history and legacy of this great institution, St. Jude. Speaking here for a man who was there on the night of the fire, and he worked with St. Jude's for 29 years, started off in maintenance and became a supervisor. How does St. Jude's, Mr. Cuffy, the St. Jude's now differ from what existed before?
What my disappointment with St. Jude's, they should have never done what they did to that old building. They should have just repaired that area that burnt out. And I think the minister at that time was getting enough help to do that, because I recall the Taiwanese stayed 3 months in the area there, waiting for him to say give an okay, but he didn't do that, because I had just redo the outpatient clinic. I had a club from the US, which is a Rotary Club from the Birmingham in US, came down and fixed the outpatient for me. I had an emergency down, which we had 7 trolleys inside there. They built up 15 rooms for me for the doctors to see the patients. And the outpatients were cool. I had a waiting room there and everything. So I don't see why they went and do all what they did there. And if you go inside there to see that area, I don't think whoever will qualify this place to be a hospital will not certify the place to be a hospital. It doesn't look safe at all. Spending money on that place there, I don't think is a good stuff. That's my opinion.
Let's take us back, and I thank you for your opinion on that. Take us back through that dreadful night of the St. Jude fire. We refer to it as 999, September 9th, 2009, September being the 9th month. We understand that you saved many lives, many patients. Part of the ordeal that you single-handedly lifted and carried a 300-pound patient.
Yes, I did that. I personally don't believe I was the one who did that. The Almighty helped me to do that. Because there's no way I had the strength to lift up this lady. Actually, I had her to grab me around my neck, and I grabbed her at the back and drag her under me. When I reached the step to go down, it was pretty rough. She was too big. My foot couldn't get down to the other steps, so I had her to release me down a little. And when I reached the 12th step, I lost everything. I didn't have any strength again. I felt I would drop her to roll the balance. But I lift up my eyes and I said, Lord, help me to drop her underneath the bottom floor, the top floor, so the fire will not fall on her. When I did get some power, I got on there and I dropped this lady. I felt the floor shook under me. Then the guy was running in. He called me, a little guy just next to me in my place. I told him, help me to carry the lady outside. The two of us didn't shift the lady on the floor. We couldn't lift up. The two of us couldn't lift her up. So he ran outside, got two other guys. The guys came in, four of us carried her out. And the guys were stunned to see how I did carry this lady down. I don't know myself. It was the power of the Almighty. Now that alone, when I left there, I had to take our fire hose at the hospital to out the fire in the emergency room. There was 8 oxygen tanks there. And I felt that if these tanks blow up, there will be more disaster. And I held that for about 20 minutes, water in that area there, until another guy came to help me, because there again I almost died, choked in the smoke. But I realized that he helped me. I went down. There was 2 big oxygen tanks, the gas tanks, 300 pounds gas cylinders, that to feed the kitchen. And I realized the fire going down this way. I went quickly get a spanner, disconnect them, and roll them out of the hospital. I did that alone. I don't know where I got this power that day, but you see, St. Jude's is right down into my heart. I had St. Jude's at my heart, and I don't know, I had to do, every time I say things like that, sometimes water comes out of my eyes.
I know St. Jude's is still at the center of your heart.
Yes.
And when you look down 13 years after, in excess of 200 million of our taxpayers' dollars spent on St. Jude, what say you, as a man who helped save lives on that night? You helped extinguish the blaze on that night. What say you to the country St. Lucia on what's happening with St. Jude's 13 years after that fire?
Yeah, what I'm seeing there after 13 years, nothing is happening. And I don't believe the men in authority, I don't think they care about what is happening right now. I don't think they care about the health of the people in the South. Like, they all working in political affiliation, one against the other and stuff like that, but we are the people down there suffering. Because right now we have the stadium is already in a mess. Things are falling out of the stadium. We almost lost a life the other day. A whole thing fell. And to tell you the truth, I don't think I want to go to the stadium if I'm sick. Praise God, I don't get sick to get there. I don't know if it's because I don't do medical. I don't take medication. For the past 40 years, I don't think I've done anything like taking medication. I had a surgery done, which is my appendix, and that's okay. But I am feeling so deep sorry for what is happening to this building. There we have a new building up. It's not up finished, and nobody wants to continue to finish it. To tell you the truth, my brother, I don't know I don't want to talk more about this thing.
Yeah. I can well understand, Mr. CuffyJames. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service to St. Jude's. We know that you served 29 years at the institution. Thank you on behalf of the people of St. Lucia for all that you did on that 9th of September 2009, and thank you for your 29 years of service to St. Jude. Honor and pleasure speaking with you this morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labar. Yeah. We'll talk again sometime.
Yeah. You stay safe. Almost brought to tears, Mr. CuffyJames. Started off in maintenance at St. Jude's. He rose to supervisory position. He was there on the night of the fire. 13 years ago, he helped save several patients. One in particular stand out, a 300-pound patient. He single-handedly carried her out of the facility, out of the fire to safety, sharing his perspective, his views with us on Good Morning St. Lucia Vibes at Sunrise. Our very special edition focusing on the 13th anniversary of the St. Jude's fire. 13 years later, Still no St. Jude's. Beyond the headlines this hour was brought to you with the kind compliments of St. Lucia's #1 telecommunications provider. Flew our time 9 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. We still have lots to come. We go up until 9. Stay with us. Your morning cup of tea. We'll be back in just a moment.